So a Cubist Landscape. The artwork that I gave you by Paul Klee and Pablo Picasso are both very, very different. Picasso focuses on breaking what he sees down into shapes and dramatic colors, whereas Paul Klee, the example I gave you, uses much more of a line design. What I want you to do is create your own Cubist landscape. So think about what that might include adding. So if we start with elements that could represent a tree, adding in our different shapes, we don't just have to stick with that. The format that we used and the technique where we created a watercolor with our marker works really, really well for this and filling in those different areas. We have our lights and our darks. And some darker shadows with some other added colors as well. About how those will work together. So with our Cubist landscape, we can go two very different routes. We could do something more Picasso-esque with our shapes and our colors, or we could do something more like the artwork of Paul Klee. And it's much more gestural and simplified shapes. We could do something in between by creating our drawing and then going back and dividing it into different sections. So we chose to do a very simple tree. Simple shapes, and then came through and divided it. Segmenting the entire part into different areas. And then using those to add color. Either based on the sections they represent or not. Having that freedom with Cubist art is part of what makes it a whole lot of fun. There's not a right or wrong way to fill in. It's based on how you choose to pick your colors, have them work together. This is also one using the watercolor marker technique works very, very well. With our larger sections, we have the opportunity to add a little bit of water and change how the colors look by softening the edges. Again, I've not finished it. I'm just doing parts of it. Wetting my brush, just like I had done before. Wet the marker. And allow it to fill in just those sections. Making sure to give it time to just sit. Remember, the longer it sits, the more the colors will blend and bleed from one section to another. Let it go. So different ways to create a landscape. Now, just because I've done trees does not mean that is the only thing that you can do. Picasso's landscapes included buildings, which he broke down into very sharp geometric shapes. So go ahead, look at the examples. Look up your own examples about Cubist landscapes and see what you come up with.